Hey guys, Obi Hill here, just talking to you guys about Diception. Just give me 1 second. I'm going to check on my phone real quick to make sure all my audio and stuff is good to go. Don't want to be talking to y'all and y'all not be able to hear me because that would be lame. Let's see here. Diception. Just give me 1 second. Audio and stuff is good to go. Don't want to be talking to you. All right, guys. So, as you guys know, we've done Diception. Hey, Stephanie. We've done Diception. I got one of the very first copies right here. The original copy is our first book. It's our first wonderful creative insanity that is us. So I had some guys that were like, hey, we don't understand some of the games, blah, 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 which is understandable because, you know, I may intend something and it may have been written by me in a different manner, and then the editor communicated it in a different way than maybe even I intended. So I'm just going to kind of do a run through on some of these games, and I'm going to post this on YouTube. If you haven't seen the book, it's pretty awesome. Got awesome work by over there on. Hi, Declan. Turd. Saying hi to people, so you know, I'll do that. So you know, Diception. Really, I created this thing was because there's a lack, I thought, of some games out there and games that you can play within the games. And really, all these games here are actually pretty fun by themselves. You can actually play every single one of them by themselves. Okay, so we're going to start with this guy right here, Harvest. Okay, so it says the goal of Harvest is to hit 20 or higher using a D20 as the base. The first player to make or break 20 is the winner, but how to change the base number. First, everyone rolls a D20. The player that then rolls the highest number starts the next round. The player rolls the lower number of dice, D12, D10, D8, D6, D4. The remaining players are on the table one at a time and then follow suit. If at any point the player reaches 20 or above, the game is over and that player wins. So, hey guys, nice to talk to y'all. Thanks for joining us. So this whole concept of this game actually came from the classic game Blackjack or 21. My thought was that is to use the other dice to try to make it as close as you could, or to break the 20 or higher, you know, because using that mentality of like, hey, it's D20, you know what I mean? D20 is classic for RPGs. And I just thought it was kind of a clever way of doing that and everything like that. But so in the end, what it came down to was the harvest is, you know, you plant and you sow, and then you also got to take away. So the D12, D8, and D4 add to your total, and the D6, D10, and D6 take away. So the point is you're trying to get the highest number you can, and once you do that, you're good to go. But let me make sure I'm talking right. Yeah, okay, yeah. So basically, you're trying to get that total number the highest as you can. But, I mean, it's all in the roll of the dice, right? So you're gambling or you're just playing the game, and there you go. I mean, you roll the 3 dice. You got to roll all of themselves. So harvest is the whole point of that game is to literally roll all the dice and then total it up, and hopefully you win. I mean, it's pretty simple. Harvest I thought was pretty clever. Takes about 6 minutes. I think it's funner with a few extra people and everything like that. So moving on to Faces, which is the next game in Diception. It says everyone draws a face card, an ace, queen, king, or jack. So, and also, so if I talk about this, I'm going to refer to the dice to card rules. I came up with a general concept that doesn't maybe make perfect sense because, you know, technically you can have more than 4 kings or 4 queens or 4 jacks or 4 tens, so on and so forth. But the whole point was that, you know, if you go to a casino, you know, if you've ever been to one, they have stacks of decks. It's not just one deck or 2 decks or 3. They got like 6 or 7 to prevent card counting and things of that nature, right? And that's the way they do it, right? Sorry, I'm talking, so I'm gonna be drinking. Hey, Courtney. So, anyways, the whole idea behind that was to give you a way to have to have a deck of cards on your deck, and all you have to do is use dice to technically draw cards, quote unquote, right? I mean, that's relative, but we'll just say that. So each player may draw no more than 6 cards. They may draw them all at once, or if they're gambling, they may wait and choose to see how the game goes. So again, it goes down to the gambling and stuff like that with the games, to where like you can kind of reveal part of your hand or choose not to reveal your hand and ante up and bet. Once a player or the dealer has drawn 6 cards, they are done for the round. The game can last no more than 4 rounds. If a player or the dealer forgets to draw one of the remaining cards for that round, then it's a too bad, so sad, basically. The player or the dealer with the most face cards wins. So the entire concept is for you to draw the most amount of face cards. So that's ace, king, queen, king, or jack. And so with that being said, what you have to do is you have to roll a 1 on a d10 roll, and then you have to roll, well, basically just got to roll a d10. And so if you roll a 1 on a d10, then that means you're going to be drawing an ace, king, queen, or jack. So, I mean, pretty straightforward on that game. I thought that was pretty simple. And I thought it was clever game, pretty simple, straightforward. Okay, sevens. So sevens was one of the first ones I actually made for this deal here, for Diception. And so the dealer and the players each roll all 4 dice, d10, d8, d6, d4. The goal is to complete the most amount of sevens in one roll by adding any combination of your own dice together. So this game was super simple, straightforward, and basically your entire concept is to literally roll sevens on the dice. So, you know, if you could roll a 3, 4, 4, 3, you could add all 4 of those together. You can combo them all together. So a 3 plus a 4, a 3 plus a 4, a 4 plus a 3, and a 4 plus a 3. That's 4 sevens technically. They're not, once you pull them off to the side, it doesn't matter. Once you have them, you're good to go. Yeah, and so this the lore aspect was kind of clever on this guy. Was that the deity of gambling was to journey down from the heavens to play this game. You know, and some of these lore aspects were really just derived from, you know, other aspects. Like 7 is like technically the holy number and things of that nature. And so it was kind of like, haha, cool, this is awesome, you know. And that's what I was using for the lore on that guy. All right, so, oh yeah, so just to give a quick, the lovely artist behind this is Teresa Guido. She's actually from Italy. She's an awesome girl. She's working on a lot of her projects. If you can, go check out her art station, give her some love, or, you know, buy some of her prints, or, you know, however these artists, because they're starving artists sometimes, and we got to support them people when we can. So Rose Query was actually changed names as I was developing these games and everything, and think of concepts behind these guys. It was that, hey, you know, in the fantasy realm of things, how would it all tie together? So on Rose Query, the dealer rolls the dice to determine the card being drawn. Dice card rules. The dealer needs to know the suit and the number and whether it is odd or even. The player then begin a round robin of interrogation, each in turn guessing at the card in this order: odd or even, suit, and finally face value. The first time a player misses a guess, his turn is over, and the guesswork shifts to the next player in line until one player correctly guesses the card. So if you've ever played a game, it's called Ride the Bus. Hey, Chad, how are you, man? It's called Ride the Bus. Similar in aspects to this game. And, I mean, as all games go, they're kind of derivatives of other games. You know what I mean? Just different aspects or different concepts behind it. And so that's kind of where I got the idea for this game. It essentially is all you're trying to do is guess what the outcome is going to be and win. I mean, that's literally all it is. And the aspect behind that was for, you know, to teach future rogues or bandits and guys, in case if they ever got caught, that they could not be incriminated and they were able to hold their own. Okay, so the next game is called Fireball. This is actually one of my favorites. I had some questions on this guy, actually. So, and I actually didn't think about this concept, is what if all the players technically got put in the same position? And I was like, you know, I never really thought about that. You know, it's kind of luck of the draw, I guess, you know. And I was like, I guess just you can re-roll, or, you know, try again, or just play it as it is. I mean, I guess that would be kind of lame, but technically you could. But the entire concept behind this game was the classic spell, Fireball. Yes, you do, Shelby. It's fun games. The classic game classic spell in fifth edition, or really any edition, is Fireball. And so I was like, man, I got to incorporate that somehow, because I mean, it's like iconic. And so I was like, okay, what am I going to do? And I was like, all right, so let's think of this concept that this college of mages are there, and everything, and like, what if you had some crazy new students that were blowing each other up all the time, you know what I mean? And they were like, okay, guys, let's chill out with this stuff. Let's learn the concept and not blow each other up anymore. So that's where that inspiration came from for the game. And so basically, the total number you can actually have on an 8d6 roll is 48. So with that concept, everyone starts off with 48 HP, and basically what you do is you can use your dice as actual counters, your standard 7 RPG dice as counters, and you put them on 48, and that's able to just to keep yourself honest and not have to jot it down or write. You got the dice right there, and keep the idea of Diception in play. And so the concept was basically that you roll a position determined by a D4, and so if you have a roll of 1, you're in a different spot. You roll a 2, you're in a different spot, and so on and so forth. And then everybody takes turns rolling a D4, and then the D6, the 8d6. And so if they roll a D4 and it rolls on a 1, and you're on position 1, you and whoever else, and even yourself, if you're on a 1 position, you blow yourself up technically. And basically, in the 8d6 roll, I mean, you may roll 8 6s, which is very doubtful, but it can happen. So, I mean, you may be super low on dice, but then your position never comes back up. And so you're good to go. And so that basically it's all or nothing. You survive, and last man standing, or the DM can make a rule on this and say anyone who has the most HP after, say, 4 rounds or whatever, or 4 turns or 5 turns. You know what I mean? If you drop to 0, you're done. It's that simple, pretty fun game. And that can be played with, just at the table, just for giggles. Another one of the fun games was Ooze, and I actually loved creating this game. It was a really fun concept. As I was thinking of the lore aspect behind it, and I came up with the concept that this crazy king was being assassinated, and he was running through the castle, and he'd hit the door, kind of like, I guess, like a Scooby-Doo or some aspect of that, where they're like running through the doors and they find the monster, and it's like, oh no, And so the concept behind this game was simply that there's an ooze chasing you, and you got to survive. And which actually says 3+ players on it. Shouldn't say that. Should just be one of the DM. But I digress. So basically, you're running through the castle, and you're trying to outrun the ooze by putting enough doors in the way for it to break apart, or dissipate, or just get bored, or just it's slow. You know what I mean? It's an ooze, so it's slow. So you're trying to put enough distance between you and the ooze and survive in that outcome. So the defender rolls a D10 dice, and that is the number of doors the defender must guard. So you roll the D10, and so if you roll a 7, you got to make it through 7 doors before you're safe. Each door has 2d6 dice worth of hit points at every door. Then an attacking player or the defeated dealer rolls 2d6 worth of damage. Oh, that's right. We incorporated that where other players could actually be helping the DM or the dealer attack the bad player. And I think the concept was that you could have more players join in and do a rotation in that way. So not everyone's bored or no one's doing anything. Yeah, so every door you come to, you got to roll 2d6. So one at a time, you roll the 2d6 and you leave it on the table, and that's that door's hit points. The attacker then rolls. They're trying to break the door down. Naturally, they can add 1 to their next door roll, and okay. And then the dealer rolls 2d6. So it's 1 for 1. You're trying to beat the roll. So 2d6 is 2d6. The only aspect difference is basically once you get ahead, it becomes easier for you to gain momentum, essentially, right? And so if you break a door down or you successfully defend a door, the next door it gets a +1, or it has a -1 essentially, or however you want to say that. And yeah, so it gives a good example here. It says if the defender successfully guards 3 doors, they add 3 HP to the rest of the doors. But say the attacker is successful on 3, they would have +3 to their attacks, and so that would negative out, right? Oh, hey man, no worries. Promote, please. We need some help as always. I mean, gotta do it. Okay, so that's Ooze. 4 Horsemen. So this was super awesome game that I absolutely loved. And so I'm also going to post this on YouTube, guys. So if you can't watch, or you'd like to watch later, it will be there. But if you'd like to watch and sit here and listen to me talk, that's cool too. So on the 4 Horsemen, my thought was that it's the 4 plagues that out of the Bible, or out of most of history. There's war, pestilence, disease, and death, essentially, right? Yeah, that's right. Okay, those are represent the 4 Horsemen, right? And so the lore aspect of this game was to basically say that, hey, what if we were teaching kids or children, like, hey, during this time, you don't want to, go out into the wilderness and, while there's a big disease going on, or while there's a war going on. And so this was kind of, I guess, in a weird manner, a way of teaching kids in the lore aspect, ways of, hey, don't do this during this time because you'll die, or you have a better chance of dying, or whatever you say. So each player rolls their D6, D8, D10, D12. These dice represent the player's villagers, and those dice must remain on the table as is. The dealer rolls the same exact dice, D6, D8, D10, D12. So basically, if any of those numbers match the villager number on your dice, that you're wiped out. You know what I mean? So like if the D8 on the dealer's dice matches a 3 on your D6 dice, you're done. And so basically, you're just trying to survive the longest, and that's essentially the game. I mean, that's it. I mean, it's pretty simple. I thought the lore aspect of that game was more interesting than the actual game. Still fun, still good to play, and yeah. So there we go. Hey, Lorraine. All right, guys. So if you're just watching this on YouTube later, and I'm shouting at random people, sorry. All right, so we got giants and soldiers. Okay, so this concept came around that, it's kind of the Goliath versus David idea or concept, right? Big guy versus little guys, or whatever you want to say. So essentially, you're trying to beat a D20 roll with D4 rolls. The dealer rolls 4 D20 dice, and then the player then rolls 5 D4 dice for each of the D20s. So 5 D4, 5 times 4 is 20. And if that dice is a natural 20, then you got to roll all 4s on those rolls to beat it. But the odds are you're not going to, the DM's not going to roll, or the dealer's not going to roll all 20s, and he may roll a 2, and then you're good to go. And I thought it would be an interesting concept in this game to maybe, and this is a DM call for sure, is to, if, you beat 1 D20, then those soldiers move over for every one you're over. So, if it's, odd or even or whatever, then you roll those guys over the next guy to better your outcome. So it's more soldiers versus less giants, essentially. I mean, that game was pretty simple. The lore aspect was really cool. I thought that was kind of funny that, in all aspects of fantasy, there's giants are very commonplace. And also, I will be doing a more descriptive video of this guy later, and actually trying to do a playthrough of all these games. So there's that. I just don't have the time to do all the videos right now and make them awesome. So I apologize. Giant stone. Oh, that's one of my favorites. So naturally, I was thinking roulette, you know what I mean? And how to do the roulette concept, which was kind of hard, honestly. Similar to roulette, this game is almost used exclusively for gambling. To start, players bet on the outcome of the rolling a D20 dice. Each player takes their own D20 and places the number they guess facing up. A minimum of 1 coin bet is required to pay. And I did the 1 coin because I don't know where you're going to use your Hey, I love the maps on your wall. Hey, thanks, man. I love maps. Uh, I didn't know what kind of setting you might be using this in, and so I wanted to use a very neutral currency, so I said coin. It could be a dollar, it could be a platinum, it can be a space dollar, it can be whatever you want it to be. You know, all these games, I really was trying to make them very interchangeable with any type of setting, except for the casino part. That's pretty much fancy. But so, and then you got to go down to the gambling rules where it breaks down everything for you on the better odds. And so, like a D4 die represents odd or even, so you can bet on that. A D6 die signifies color, 1 to 3 to red, 4 to 6 represents black. So you would actually place that dice on 1 to 3 to represent you're betting on red or you're betting on black. Values of where was I at? Sorry, numbers of ranges, values. Oh yeah, so the D10 that can you break it up into 4 parts where you're able to go from 1 to 5. Yeah, 1 to 5, 6 to 10, and then 11 to 15, and then 16 to 20. That breaks it down into 5 individual numbers for each one. So you're able to bet on that. And the D12 represents. I'm sorry, the D12 is for 5s. The D10 is for 1 to 10. So you know your odds are better for the D10, so you don't get the payout. And it basically breaks it down for you there. But basically, all you're trying to do is play roulette, and the concepts are there. If you got any questions, please email me or shoot me a Facebook message or whatever, and I'll try to break it down for you. Captain Jack, so super simple Captain Jack, which I'll show you the picture right here. Captain Jack right there. So using the dice to simulate playing cards as the dice per card rolls, which is the very first of the book. You're trying to draw an ace and a jack and be the first player to do that. So you got to roll a 1 on a D10, and then you got to roll a 1 on the ace and a 2 on the, or, I'm sorry, a 1 on the D4 and a 2 on the D4. And that's your concept. And basically, that's all you're trying to do. And you go around the table and till someone draws it, or till the DM says that's enough rounds of this. Player who had an ace or a jack wins, and the ace would win over any of the jack. You know what I mean? So if no one else draws an ace and a jack to actually win, then you know the DM can make a ruling saying, well, the ace is a higher playing card, so if you have an ace, you win, or you know you split the pot or whatever. As far as if you're playing with gambling rules or whatever. Dungeon. I love the art piece on this one. Teresa did a great job on this, and I know it's backwards, so I apologize. I love that one. So dungeon was essentially you're trying to go through a dungeon because you know we're all fantasy nerds and we love fantasy, and so the whole concept was supposed to be that you're trying to defeat the dungeon, and the opposing side or the bad guys, as per usual, is the dealer or the DM or GM or whatever aspect you're using. So the dealer on the opposing side rolls a full set. So that's 4 through D20. And you can roll a percentile if you want, but I just do 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, and 20. They can arrange the dice in any secret order they choose. So what I would do is I would actually put them in a line from, say, left to right, and whatever the outcomes were to be. And then the player's turn comes up, and they're trying to basically essentially guess what's in the next room. They don't have no idea. If you're a dungeon guy and you're running through the dungeon, there may be kobolds, or there may be, you know, an owl bear, or there may be a dragon. You know what I mean? You don't have a clue what's in that next room. And you can do some checking, sure, but I mean, really, until you open that door, you're not going to know 110% for sure. And so that was the concept behind Dungeon. And so literally it's rolling all the dice, and then the DM rolling all the dice, putting them in order, and then the player who's in the dungeon trying to basically roll the dice in the order that he has the best chance to win. And he doesn't know, or he or she doesn't know, but there it is. Okay, so royal family, which again was this guy right here. So royal family, each player represents a king. The main goal is for the king to attain more royal members than the other lesser kings. So this was kind of a, this was kind of a rift off of, I guess you could say, like back in the day when they used to like arrange marriages and like, you know, well, you know, if we put my daughter and your son together, then hey, we'll be stronger overall and we'll be able to beat each other's, you know, enemy of my enemy is my friend kind of a thing. And So that's where this game kind of came from. And so there's a way designed in the rules to basically beat the rules. So earning more family members is based on rolling a d12, one player at a time. If the king rolls a 11 or 12, then congratulations, your majesty. A new prince or princess is born to their family. If the king rolls a 1, rather than a family member has to die, or some other nonsense that only happens to peasants. I think that was the editor, which, I mean, they put some stuff in here, and I haven't read every single bit of the book since I've actually had it. But, I mean, other than kind of glancing over to make sure things are perfect. But I actually haven't, sat down and read it all, so some of this is kind of new, too. The king may actually kidnap family members from other players on their choice. It's going to be king. The game over is over in 6 rounds. So, I mean, that's basically the concept, is you're just trying to get more family members in your family and give a little lore aspect behind it. Underdark, I actually had a question on this guy as well from one of the backers or people. So on this guy right here, sorry, I entered text, I apologize. Anyway, so the Underdark concept for the book was basically that the player who's running the game versus the player who is challenging the game is trying to make it out of the lowest level, and they're trying to break out. So essentially, each time there is a roll of the dice, and for each one they roll, they get up that as many levels. And the DM could throw a little hiccup in there by rolling a d4 and dropping them that many levels. So there's a challenge aspect to it, and and all that, but not too bad overall. So Pantheon and Prayer, that's actually a pretty fun one as well. Hey Ashley, how are you? Pantheon and Prayer, every player starts with a king or queen, and Jack each rolls a d4 to represent a card suit. This Pantheon of God lives for worship, and so the goal is to generate the most prayers for your Pantheon. This was, I think I stole this from like mythology kind of aspect, and I don't remember which one it is, but I think it was like basically that gods needed prayers to get more power, essentially. Maybe it was, this is all stuff in my head, so I don't even really know. I must have heard it somewhere and then applied it to the game. So essentially what you're trying to do is you're trying to bring people into your pantheon or your religion or whatever in this game. So the number of cards equal their half face value for prayers. Face cards equal 15 prayers. So if you roll a 10 on the dice to card rules, you get 10 new prayers. If you roll a face card, which is a 1, an ace, jack, king, queen, then you get 15 new prayers. And it might be a good idea to have like a little tally or something like that, or roll the die, put the dice into a manner to where you're able to tally them up. Let me see. Face cards do more than add prayers. If the face card is the same suit as yours, they join your pantheon and as an additional +1 member. If the face card is not the same suit, the card acts as a spy and allows you to steal a god away from another player of your choice who has that suit. So there's a little bit of aspect there to that, and it's not bad once you kind of read the rules. It's pretty fun. Okay. Takeaway. It's right here, and takeaway was basically all the dice here. So the object of the game is to get total percentile dice down to exactly 0. Aha, I remember this now. So basically the dealer rolls a percentile dice, so it can be anything from 5 to 95 to even 100 on the percentile. And then players take turns rolling different dice by the gambling rules to purchase said dice to roll it. So, it may be beneficial to roll a d20 because you're knocking that level down faster and, get the deal or something like that. So if there's only 8 left and you're feeling lucky, you might buy a d8 or you might buy a d6, because if you bust over the number, then you're done. So it doesn't even matter. So you got to be careful with your choice. When the number's high, it's easy. You're just throwing whatever you want at it. But once that number breaks past that 20 aspect, then you're like, oh no. Now I got to be careful with what I choose, because if you overroll, it's over, and you can't use that no more. So that's pretty simple and straightforward on that game. Bard's Hand, a quick game designed to be very simple rules. The player must with the most points after a set number of rounds determined by D10 rolls that start wins. The player takes turns using dice to roll determined cards via the dice to card rules. A number of cards worth a face value. So a 2 is 2, 3 is 3, 4 is 4, and so on and so forth. Always feel lucky. Yeah, wish I was too, man. And the face card is worth 15 points. And you'll probably see that aspect of the 15 points quite often. And the ace is actually valued at 20. So you get a jack, king, or queen. That's actually worth 15. You get an ace, it's actually 20. So you get paid higher for drawing more better cards, I guess. I mean, that's essentially it. You're trying to get the highest amount of points you can in a certain amount of rounds. It was predetermined. So you might have 1 round, you might have 2 rounds. All right, so King and Queen's War. This was kind of, I guess, kind of Game of Thronesy, I guess you could say, is that, during Game of Thrones, there was like this aspect where it was the 5 kings, and then it kind of transitioned into like the War of Queens. And if I ruined something for you, sorry, should have been watching the series. But anyways, every player is the king of this game and rolls a d4 to determine their suit. A dealer or DM then rolls to pull out 10 cards. As always, refer to the dice to card rules. A player receives a point value of any card that shows in their suit. They're suited with 1 or more than the other kings. The points are split. Feudal wars have been started for less after all. So essentially, yeah, so the DM then rolls to pull out 10 cards. So there's predetermined cards by the DM, okay? And so a player receives the point value for any card that is shown. Yeah. So, yeah, okay, I'm tracking now. So everyone's got a different suit, okay? So for some weird reason, if you got more than 4 players and, you got the same suits, you guys are going to split points, and it's probably going to be a split pot. Or, you could do it like 1-1, or you can have them roll for it. You never know, right? I mean, you got dice right there, so why not? You get 1 point for an ace, 2 to 10 is face value, a jack is 11 points, queen is 12 points, king is 12 points. So, kings and queens are equal. Sorry, I'm talking a lot, so I'm trying to get through this in a relative amount of time to kind of give a breakdown for backers if they want it. So Queen's War is a lot like King's War in essence, but I like to pretend it's a little bit more stabby, backy, you know what I mean? Because queens are way more mischievous and way more smarter than us guys. We're just blunt force and ignorance most of the time. So they're way, way better at doing this stuff than we are. Admit it, guys. It's true. This time, each player has her Royal Highness, the Queen. Every player rolls a d4 to determine their suit. So, there you go. Each player then rolls to draw their own cards over 10 rounds. A queen wants to be hands-on after all. The Queen's War plays out in such a way, same way as the King's War rules, with one major exception. Queens can steal cards from each other on the traitorous. Players may wish to have their piece scratch paper to keep up with the royal hijinks. A queen who wishes to steal from another rolls a d20. Her chosen opponent does the same. If the stealing queen rolls higher, she may take 1 card from the losing player. However, if the stealing queen rolls lower, loses, her opponent can take 2 cards. So there's value for losing. So if you lose, you're going to lose 2 cards. So you better win, right? It's war. So, I mean, that's really basically it on those guys. It's about the d4 roll, what your suit is, or you can assign suits or pick suits. It really doesn't matter. But the concept was that, I'm this, and the dealer's going to roll this, and basically one at a time, those cards are going to come out, right? So there's that aspect to it all. So Deities 10, right here. Some cool little angel d4s. Deities 10 was a pretty fun game. So this game is costly to play and is often used where is more higher stakes treasure for the winner. Players buy into the game, purchasing up to 5 d4 to roll. The cost of each successive d4 goes up the more you buy. However, the more d4 you roll, the better the odds. All purchasing is completed before the roll. So before you roll all those d4, you have to choose how many you want to purchase. And how much they cost is in the gambling rules. Each player rolls the d4 they purchase. The roll total of the d4 roll is the number of d10 dice the player can roll to get their final tally. Only the d4 roll counts towards the concluding number. So essentially, you're buying D4 to figure out how many D10 you get to roll. So if you buy 5D4, you can actually roll 10 or 20 D10. So you could actually get 200 points. And I mean, it's not going to happen. The odds are super against you, but you could. It is plausible. And so that being said, I mean, that's what you're doing. You're trying to get, D4. But, that being said, also, if you purchase all these D4 and you roll ones on them all, that's 5. I mean, someone could purchase 2 and roll an 8 or 2 4s, and you have 8 D10. You know what I'm saying? It's all relative. It's all like how lucky you feel. As Chad said earlier, he said it always feels lucky. We'll see, right? It all comes down to the aspect of rolling the dice. So keeps key. This was like a pretty fun game. I love making this guy. Keeps key is a guessing game unless a player possesses some infernal spell of arcane knowing or other trickery. They will have to rely on either luck or keen powers of deduction to win. The dealer rolls to determine a random card. The player must deduce the card. Each player may better their odds by purchasing dice. Players may purchase as many dice as they want and could continue until they guess right, go broke, or shoot themselves with an arrow in frustration. The D4 is 1 coin, D6 is 5 coins, D10 is 20 coins. A D4 dice roll will display the suit. Will display a suit. The dealer will respond with a yes or no. If yes, then the player has the correct suit and may move on to the D6 roll. The D6 dice are trickier. Each roll represents 4 or 5 possibilities of the dealer's card. As before, the dealer may only answer yes or no, which only narrows down the choices. If you roll a 1 or 2, it's an ace, 3, 10, or a jack. 2, a 3 or 4, it's a 2, 7, 9, or queen. 5 or 6, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or king. And so basically, if he says no and you roll a 1 or 2, then it has to be a 2, 7, 9, or queen, or a 4, 5, 6, 8, or king. And you can keep purchasing dice until you narrow it down. You know what I mean? And use your own little wit there to figure that math out, right? The first player with enough coins. The final die, D10, costs more, but it also reveals more. The D10 represents the actual face value of the guess. The dealer responds with a higher or lower or winner. So essentially, you buy a D10, and that's the last die you roll. You get to go higher or lower, and you want to purchase more, and then you're good to go. That's just it. So the more you sacrifice, but if you guess wrong in the end, you lose everything. Hey, James, how are you, man? And if you put a bunch of funds in that, and you guess wrong for some crazy reason, you're out. So Hearth and Home, also another fun game. The game rules are pretty simple. The idea was that, it's about teaching kids to budget, in essence, with dice / whatever, right? That aspect was that, while you have funds, the home, food, and what else was it? Yeah, the lands, the food, and the home, and then of course the purse. So the aspect was that while you have a home, food, and the surrounding lands, you got to protect those with coin or something like that. So basically, the dice represent the total 100% health of those items. The DM is trying to drop one of those to 0 because if you lose your home, your land, or your food, you're done. You're going to die. And so basically, you can take your D8, which is your coin purse, your D10, which is your coin purse, essentially, and buff those numbers up. And that's basically the entire concept of that game, simplified. Hero's Risk, right there with the dying D20 guy. Hero's Risk was also pretty simple. It was a really fun game to create. The highest dice total number 1 rolls wins. Sounds pretty simple, but players have the option to purchase additional dice before rolling. No other players have to know how many dice you purchase. The dealer will ensure proper payment for additional dice bought is received at the end of the round. Only purchases are made. The dealer and players all roll their D20. This locks out further dice purchases. Players who bought additional dice can roll them if needed after the D20 roll. Highest total wins. That's it. So, you're going to roll a D20 no matter what, but you can basically buff that D20 roll with other rolls. And it's a secret game, it's a secret buying. And so you would be like, I want this many dice or however you want to have that done. And so that kind of ties back to the gambling rules. which basically is the gambling rules, because there's no really other way to play this game other than gambling. Blacksmith, this is my game for dwarves. Represent, I love dwarves. So blacksmith was brought around to basically teach, young dwarf blacksmiths the proper aspects of smithing. There's got to be at least 3 people, the DM and then 2 others. So it's actually mandatory that there's 3 people. There's no other way to play this game. If you have more than that, it won't work. So blacksmith pits 2 players working in tandem against the dealer. The game will last for D10 number of rounds. The dealer starts by placing a D20 on the number 10. This represents a raw piece of iron and must be worked properly by the players. The value of D20 must never drop below 1 or never rise above 20. So, I mean, if you roll a 10, it's at 20, but it's not above. You roll 1 or you drop 10, it's at 1, it's not technically below. The whole aspect is to never drop below or above. It's like keeping that piece of iron or steel or whatever they're working in perfect position. Each player rolls a D4 or D8. One player will subtract the rolls, but the other must add theirs. So essentially, one is minus and one is positive. And so you can predetermine that aspect before you start rolling. And it really doesn't matter if they switch or whatever. I guess you could do that, but I would say simple, just keep it minus and add. The dealer then are always, okay, so sorry, trying to read here. The dealer are always variables in metalworking. So the dealer will roll a D4 after both players. Odd numbers on the D4 roll will subtract the value, while even numbers will add. So if you roll a 2 or a 4, it adds. If you roll a 1 or a 3, it subtracts. So depending on which one just rolls, I mean, it may roll over that 1 or that 20, and then you're done. You lose. And that's it. Castle was fun. It's kind of difficult, I think. This is probably one of the more difficult games to understand. So basically, the people attacking have 99 people to attack. The people behind the walls, whoever that is, probably the dealer, actually has 1,000 soldiers. But the difference is that as the people behind the walls, you can't gain reinforcements. But as the people outside the walls, you can gain reinforcements. And so you have certain options you can choose to do. And the D4, D6, D8, D12, D20, they all revolve around a certain aspect. Planning some outcome, bombarding the walls, attacking the gate, tunneling under the castle, and scaling the walls. I was trying to put those guys in somewhat most dangerous concepts behind them. I've never attacked a castle, to be fair, so I don't know. But, I mean, one can logically create this. So the other player defends their castle with a regiment of 1,000 soldiers. That is the full battalion. They will not regain any reinforcements. The defender rolls a D10 after every assault, then multiplies the D10 result with the value of the attacker's roll. So if you take a 20 and you roll a 20 and the defender rolls a 10, they're going to lose 200 soldiers. So, I mean, there's that. Pretty simple. The higher rolls on yours is the more troops they're going to lose in the outcome of the actual rolling. So I thought that was super fun. I thought it was. Hopefully it makes sense to you guys. If you don't, again, ask questions and I can dig into more personally with you. Maiden's Hand. This is like the, I guess this is kind of like the way of how some of the movies or some concepts, they pick the petals off the flowers. This is very similar in that fashion, except this is like, I guess, boys trying to woo young ladies. And so basically the dealer is going to have 13 heart cards, and in random order or whatever he wants to do, he or she wants to do, and then they get pulled one at a time. So you're trying to beat as a player, you're trying to beat the DM's roll essentially on that card. Okay, so, and it can be any card, to be fair. It doesn't have to be 1 through 13. It can be any order of that. So the only difference in this game is like, I guess when I was thinking this game out, I was like, so boys talk, girls talk, kids talk, right? And so one boy would say, yeah, go to the next guy and say, man, I tried this, it didn't work. So basically, once the DM reveals that card, that next player understands, that concept. Yep. Yep. So that's it. I mean, that's the basic concept of that game. Is you're drawing cards to beat the heart cards, and the DM rolls one at a time if he chooses, or all at once. I'd probably just roll them all at once just roll them one at a time to keep track of all that, right? Dragon Attack, super simple game. So basically, the concept behind this was that someone, a little boy who cried wolf. Hey, there's a dragon out there, but there really is a dragon, and so you basically got time to prep the city or the town, and with every roll, you get more points or more basically defense points, as I kind of I guess thought about as I was thinking the game out. So the dragon attacks after every player roll with increases damage as the fight continues. The dragon deals damage for every card drawn each round. D4 damage for round 1, D6 damage for round 2, and D12 damage for round 3. So basically, the more points as defense you have, the better off you are overall. River. So river, really simple concept. You're on a boat, and you're trying to basically hold on to the boat as it's going through the rapids, or rough seas, or whatever you want to say. The percentile die starts on a 50%. That represents the raft and your life onto safety. Each player then rolls a percentile dice of their own and leaves the value showing on the table. The dealer then rolls a d20 to see if you hang on for that round. If the d20 roll is odd, the dealer subtracts the number from the raft 50. If the d20 roll is even, the numbers are added. You hold on for dear life. If the player's percentile roll is more than or less than 20 points from the adjusted raft total, they are knocked off the raft. So if you roll your percentile and you're on 40, and the DM rolls a 9, that would put them at 40, the new total at 41. You would still be on the boat. Okay, but vice versa, if the DM rolled a 10, it would add to the roll, so that would be 60. So therefore, your fall, right at 20, you would fall off the boat, or you'd be perfect. Well, if 21, say you had 39 on the roll, then you would actually fall off the boat because you were lesser more than 20 away from the new total. Healer's Hand, got to represent the healers because they don't get much love. So this player versus dealer game symbolizes the battle scenario where healers in a raiding party are responsible for keeping the party group alive. The match will last a predetermined D10 number of rounds. Each player has 20 HP to begin with, represented by a D20 dice. So put the D20 dice on the natural 20. If that number falls below 1, then you are out, and their next of kin will be notified. At the beginning of every round, players either declare a healer or battler. Both types then roll a D6 to determine their body location, where they can take damage for that round. The dealer then rolls 2d6 dice. The first will be for body location where damage hits. The second will be for actual damage done. If the dealer's d6 body location matches any player's d6 roll, the player gets whacked for the dealer's damage, d6 damage amount, which is subtracted from the player's d20 HP. So, I mean, pretty simple. You got 20 HP. The dealer's taken out 6 at a time, depending on your position. The battler is now eligible to receive D4 heal from any healer in the party. The aged battler adds D4 value back to his D20 HP. Only battlers can be healed. Healers cannot heal themselves or other healers. So basically, you're trying to outweigh the battlers. That's basically it on that guy. So hope you like it. One of my favorite ones is Hang Him. So kind of like Hangman in the concept. Any players versus dealer game where the players try to avoid the noose while dealers try to string them up. I guess I kind of picture this like either like the Robin Hood where they're shooting the arrow to hit the rope, or like a crowd trying to talk the king into letting him live. It's like a favorite hero or something like that. So basically, if you got one player, the player rolls 1d10, 2 players D8 each, 3 players D6 each, and 4 players D4 each. So and the dealer rolls a corresponding amount of dice for that guy. The dealer puts the percentile dice on 50. This represents the middle ground. Before the hanging, the dealer goal is to roll the dice and get the rope number to 100, so it drops, and the players are trying to get it down to 0, so he's free. And that's it, guys. All right, guys, so the last one, Dungeon Escape. So this is like, I guess I was thinking of like the process if I was in prison or something like that in some fantasy realm, how I would try to escape the dungeon. So you got to do it in order. So you're drawing cards with the card dice rules, and basically you're just trying to get out of the dungeon. And so you first got to roll a spade. It represents escaping the shackles. So I picture like the spade, like being like the lock pick or like whatever piece of metal, like the shackles. The club, which is to symbolize knocking out the guard, club symbol, knockout, right? The heart symbol recognizes the layout of the castle to escape. So any good rogue or bandit would commit that layout of that dungeon or that castle to their heart or their memory, and they would use that to their advantage to escape. And the diamond represents the payoff to the locals to hide until the coast is clear. So diamonds represents currency. So in that order, you're trying to roll that dice. So you get so many attempts per draw. So you get so many attempts, and the DM can change that. They choose. Some of these games work for me, may not work for your table, or maybe you like a harder game or a softer game. It's all up to you. So this is kind of a brief synopsis over Diception. We're actually working on the second version of this, kind of, sort of. It's a little different style, a little different concept, but we hope you enjoy it. If you'd like, we have PDFs available. You can download it, or you can actually get a physical copy. I think we've got my drive-through RPG right now. I think Chris over at Nord Games is going to have these guys and everything like that, man. I mean, I know I've kind of ran through it really quick, but I mean, it's super cool, super unique. And as far as I know, I haven't seen it happen anywhere that I'm aware of anyways. And if there is, and this is just another copy of that, I'm sorry. Hope ours were funner. But, so, yeah. So we have a Kickstarter going on right now for the Tome of Magical Mystery. Me and Levi over there at Session 0. He was on the Facebook Live video a second ago. Come check it out if you so choose. Let's see what else. Oh yeah, so Fortigores, one of our games, will be coming out soon. We've got a busy year planned. If you're in the Circle Template peeps, I'll post an update today. Yeah, so that's about it, guys. I'm going to post this on YouTube, and if you're on the Diception and you're going to watch this video, sorry that I'm so scatterbrained sometimes, and I will get you guys the actual playthrough videos and all that. Levi wants me to mention Junkrat Racing, which is basically our first board game concept. Levi did a lot of the grunt work back in the day on this game, and we really want to bring this to life for you guys. I've ran through it or read through everything, and it seems like a really fun game. I haven't had a chance to play it fully yet because just busy with school and life and everything. But yeah, so Junkrat Racing, pay attention to that. Diception 2, the Tome, which is live right now on Kickstarter on Session Zero's page, which is my partner and ally, and Levi Clark, which is a heck of a guy. If you haven't talked to him, holler at him. Great dude. Oh, and at the end of the Kickstarter, the Tome I don't want to waste it. Hi, Tom. Oh, Chad. Chad's my boy. Him and the girls over there on Instagram, All Natural 20s, which actually kind of lucked out. We did for Diception, we did a poll, and Chad, being the great guy he is, actually was like, no, don't use that, I mean, because it's your stuff. I was like, no, man, it worked. So there's a vote basically, and everyone was allowed to vote on, the name of the casino and like some other aspects of the casino that ended up going into Diception. And so one of the wonderful artists, which was not Teresa, but another wonderful artist, and I forget her name off the top of my head, and I apologize for that. His girls were forever illustrated in Diception, and he was kind enough to let me use their characters and use their character art. Well, not their character art, but have their characters designed in art. And so that was pretty cool. So we got a lot of stuff coming this year, and yeah, and Endomita, and I can post that in the comments later. So, and I apologize for getting Andromeda, which I think is a Greek god, isn't it? I don't know. Sounds familiar. Why does it sound familiar? Anyways, I'm out, guys. Pay attention, or not pay attention, but stay tuned. Come follow our Facebook page. Watch out for the videos of actual Diception that will hopefully be here soon. As soon as I can figure out how to record them in a well-lit and designed manner without being weird. And I will probably edit those guys and put those on there one at a time. Or I may do some weird designing video. I don't know. But yeah, so thanks for supporting us, guys. We really appreciate it. We're hoping to get everything for you soon. And I know we're waiting on Tier 4 to come in so we can get all those packages shipped out. We're waiting on some concept for the spell circles that's beyond my control. And I wish I could get them done, but I can't because my machine's not working right now. And as soon as they are, I will get them to you, I promise. And if anyone else has any questions, just shoot me or Levi an email on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever you need to do to contact us. But stay tuned. Until then, bye.